Thanks for downloading this episode of Cork Talk with me, Tim Atkin. A weekly conversation with some of the most famous people in the world of wine.
This podcast is brought to you in partnership with Noma Cork by Vineyards. Driven by a commitment to innovation, the new plant-based Noma Cork Green Line offers significant improvements in wine closure performance. Thanks to a rigorous oxygen ingress rate, you can decide which cork is best for your wine, whether it's for young and fresh wines or for those with ageing potential.
Fernando Maíllo works in fine pata negra ham as well as wine. Lucky man, and has been one of the key figures behind the emergence of the Sierra de Salamanca region in Castilla y León. Listen to us chat about the unique qualities of the Rufete grape, both red and white, how he rescued 131 abandoned vineyards, his love of kite surfing in red Burgundy, and his desire to express the unique terroir of the natural park that surrounds his winery. Hi, Fernando. How are you? And welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Very well. Thank you.
Where are you at the moment, Tom? I think you're in Spain, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in Spain. I'm in Salamanca, in the city of Salamanca.
Lucky you. I mean, you spend a lot of time traveling, though. I mean, 50% of the time you're out of the country, right?
Mostly, yeah. Most of the time, most of the years, yes. I'm about 50% of the time in Spain and 50% traveling around the world, yeah.
And we'll find out why later, because you've got a connection with something which isn't just wine. Obviously, you're selling your wine, but you also got another connection, which let's discuss that later. Just tell us about where you were brought up and where were you born? Were you born in Salamanca?
Yes, I was born here in Salamanca, and but also I spent every weekend and all the summers in the village for my ancestors, which is in Sequeros, in Sierra de Francia. And this is a fantastic place. It's a natural park south of Salamanca, about 75 kilometers from Salamanca, where I can say I also grew up there because all my weekends, my fun, yeah.
Okay, so bit of the city and a bit of the country. And were your parents involved in wine at all? They weren't wine people, were they?
No, they were not. They were not. But my great grandparents used to cultivate vines like everybody did in that region, right? But not my parents, no, and not my grandparents. Yeah. But they also introduced me. They did introduce me to wine, to the world of wine, but from the drinking side, not from the production side.
And what did they drink? What did they introduce you to?
Okay, I was very lucky because my uncle Jose Luis, he was notary in Peñafiel. So he introduced me straight to the very good wines he used to bring from there. So at that time, we're talking about maybe 40 years ago, he was bringing Protos and Vega Sicilia from Peñafiel. And this was my introduction to the world of wine, together with the wines I drank in Sierra de Francia, which was probably the opposite. The people used to drink wine there in a tin of sardines. It was the tradition of drinking wine there.
Well, so you would drink it out of a tin of sardines?
Yes. This is the way the people drink in Sierra de Francia. The local wines made a home there. And that was the way to drink it, having fun with friends and with chorizo.
Oh, I love it. So, I mean, you were drinking the first wines from the new DO of Ribera del Duero, really, in 1982. If you were taking, well, Protos existed before, and so did Vega Sicilia, but it was just when the DO was starting, wasn't it, in Ribera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was lucky.
And you studied biology at the University of Salamanca, where you were born and brought up. And what was your idea once you left? Did you think, hey, I want to go into food? Could you have gone into, was it food technology that interested you, or what else did you have in mind?
Yes. When I was studying, I started to study biology because I love animals and birds and like every child, right? When they decide to study biology, it's because your attraction for nature. Then once I started to study, I feel a lot of attraction for microbiology. And I also was interested in microbiological industrial processes. I didn't have clear what I wanted to do, so I started to work with researches in microbiology, and then I started to travel. I started to go to study abroad, and I like everything. I like so many things. Finally, I focus on on trade more than anything else after spending some time in research. After also was working in a brewery in Germany, where I learned something about quality control and microbiology of the beer making. But my first steps after the university was in the science side, and at the same time I was doing this. I was learning about science, about microbiology. I was starting to make some trade business with Germany. So both words together.
Tell us a bit more about the brewery, because I noticed that on your CV. Very interesting that you were brewing a beer in Germany. Similarities between beer and wine and differences? I mean, can you tell us, was there anything you thought, hey, yeah, this reminds me a bit of wine, the wines I've tasted, or the way they were made?
Really, I think, of course, small breweries may be closer to wineries, but normally what I was working in Eichbaum Brauerei, it was a super big brewery. They make everything perfect there. But it was more a kind of industrial process. And in the wine business that I'm now is also the opposite. So everything is handmade, everything is handcraft. So there are some similarities because in both cases are fermentations. But in the wine, the product is mainly made in the vineyard, and in the beer sector, I think it's more in the cooking side of the process, right? So
I think you're true. You're right. It's more it's brewery driven in a way, because a lot of the ingredients you're using for beer, I mean, are not necessarily dependent on harvest. Well, they are a little bit, but it's not like you have vintage every year in the same way.
Exactly, I agree.
Tell us a bit about this agri-food export consortium. I think it was the first in Spain. That in 1992 you founded something called Spanish Delicious Morsels. That sounds amazing. What was that doing?
Yes. So when I was traveling, when I was still in the university, I went to Germany and I was studying there. I was in the brewery. I was in the Center for Molecular Biology in Heidelberg. And at the same time, I wanted to do some business. I wanted to, I feel attraction for business. So I went to, in Salamanca is a very well-known product, area for producing ham and sausages. So I just visited some companies that they said they wanted to export their products to other countries, and I started to put them in touch with German companies. The problem is that at that time they didn't have the authorization to sell in Europe. So all the work I did was for nothing, because after putting them together they couldn't sell. So finally I decided to find out companies that had the permission. And I put together not only a ham producer, Monte Nevado, but I also was looking for a very high quality olive oil, a good Bonito del Norte tuna producer, and anchovies from near San Sebastian from Mutrico called Busto. The olive oil was from Jaén or Omágina. I also introduced in this group a winery from Rueda, Viña, at that time was Bodegas Antaño. And also a pate producer from Navarra, Martico. So these were the first companies I put together, and we created this consortium to go abroad together and to present the products with one common image of high quality. And now you can find Spanish products everywhere. But in 1992, was not so frequent to do that. So yeah, that was why was the first consortium.
Yeah, and part of the reason why you travel 50% of the year is you're the international director for Monte Nevado, you mentioned, which is one of the top ham producers in the country. Just tell us a little bit, for people who don't know about Spanish ham, and I love Spanish ham, is it worth paying extra for Pata Negra, which is supposed to be the best ham? And just tell us why acorns are so important to Pata Negra, to the best Pata Negra.
Of course, I think it's very worthy. The flavor and the taste of a very good Pata Negra made with an acorn-fed pig is really outstanding. So the acorn, the bellota, is the main food that the pigs are eating during Montanera season, so which lasts for 3 or 4 months. So the acorns, together with the grass the pig is eating, and the way they live, free range, the exercise they makes the meat so particular and so different and so special, to be cured for a long time, that the final result, the final product, is really amazing.
And where are the best regions for ham? You've mentioned Salamanca, but where else? I mean, Jaén is good for ham, isn't it?
Okay, we can talk about two differences. One is the best places to breed the pigs and the best places to cure the meat, which are not necessarily the same, right? So the best areas for breeding pigs in Spain is where you have the best acorns, and this is probably in the area of Extremadura, but also in Córdoba, in Los Pedroches. These are probably two of the best regions. And then to cure the ham, Guijuelo is in Salamanca and Segovia, and also Jabugo, and also in the mountains of Extremadura are very good places for aging the hams for a long time.
Fascinating. In 1999, you founded Viñas del Cámbrico, which is we're going to talk about now. I just wondered what inspired you to do it. Was it the fact that you'd gone there as a kid and that your great grandparents had vineyards? What made you want to go back there and do wine?
Yes. So I think there's been many factors that influenced me to make to start the project of Cámbrico. This is one of them. Of course, is the most important. I grew up in Sierra de Francia. Everything tastes amazing there: tomatoes, cherries, lettuce, everything, plums. Everything you eat from there tastes different to everything you can buy in the store. So grapes as well. On the other hand, I was in 1999. I was already. I had been working in the wine business for a while, right? Exporting wines from Spain, and I had been visiting cellars in several countries. And I saw no reason why we couldn't make something very special in Sierra de Francia also with the wine. The only reason why there was not let's say, an important wine there is because nobody tried before. So that inspires me. The visits of all different wineries like Opus One, or the fact of having tasting amazing wines from different countries. I say, why not? Why not in Sierra de Francia? I don't think there is a reason why we cannot make something very good and very special.
So Sierra de Francia had vineyards, didn't it? I mean, some of the vineyards you use 100 years old, but no producers. What were people doing with the grapes? Drinking them themselves, or what? Turning them into their own wine? Was it like house wine?
Traditionally, okay, the wines are the vines are cultivated in our area before Romans. There are a lot of rests that shows that the wine was one of the main things that
these are remains of what lagars or presses or things like that.
Lagars. There are more than 120 lagars dated from Romans and before Romans in our region. So yes, the problem is that all the vines are on terraces. So in the 50s, when tractors came, in the region there was no way to do it mechanically. So everything has to be done by hand, and no winery with knowledge with some technology or with the aim of making something of high quality arrive in the region. So the people just make wine home, and the wine the people used to make was delicious until March, and then unfortunately normally it was spoiled because they used to ferment the wine in the same barrel they used from maybe 100 years, and so it was spoiled afterwards. So the wine was very good at the beginning, and then normally it was spoiled, and it was drunk locally and sold locally, but there were few wineries. At that time, there were just two cooperatives making wine. One was not a cooperative, but what it was working mostly like a cooperative. So I don't think they were pointing of making a high quality product. They were looking for something with making volume, and people were concerned about alcohol. They thought was good, so they like to have alcoholic wines, and they didn't focus at that time on
and a lot of the vineyards have been abandoned, haven't they?
Yes, but probably is 90%.
Wow.
So now in the DO we have just 120 hectares. 200 hectares inscribed in the DO. I think it's one of the smallest DOs probably in Spain.
Just tell us a little bit about it. I mean, you call it Sierra de Francia, French Sierra mountain. Sometimes it's called Sierra de Salamanca, and that's the name of the DO, isn't it? Just tell us where it is in relation to Madrid and maybe to Salamanca itself, the city.
Mm-hmm. So it is south of Salamanca, 75 kilometers, which is about approximately 40 miles, and it's west of Madrid, but it's the same latitude like Madrid and Port, but with a high elevation. It is at, in the DO, we have vineyards starting from 400 meters up to 900 meters. But the quality, probably you found the best quality between 700 and 800 meters. Mm. So it's a natural park. It's one of the largest natural parks in Spain because there are several natural parks joined together. So Sierra de Francia, Quilamas, and Batuecas, and all together form a huge area, which is biosphere reserve.
So it's quite remote in a way, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Las Batuecas is considered one of the most remote areas in the country. So yeah, it's been isolated for centuries. And this is also one of the facts that has allowed nature to maintain also the natural variety. I mean, the indigenous varieties we work with.
And you're on the Meseta, the central plateau of Spain. What are the major climatic influences on you there? Is it altitude that's giving you your particular character?
It's very different. So in 20 kilometers from when you drive from Salamanca to the Sierra, you arrive to a village called Tamames, and just from Tamames, the weather changed completely. So in Salamanca and the surroundings, the rainfall per year is about 500 milliliters, while in Sierra de Francia, the average is about 1,000. So we have twice the rain, like only 50 kilometers away. And it is because of the altitude, and it is also because we get closer to the south and to the Gredos mountain system. So we have a lot of influence from Atlantic, and we have some influence from continental, but in the valleys we have more Mediterranean climate. So in our area we have a combination of Atlantic and Mediterranean climate. So we have oak trees in the highest elevations, and we have olive trees and Mediterranean variety of flowers in the a little bit lower. So in the wines also, I think we also have this influence of the two climates.
And you get big diurnal variation, don't you? A little bit like Ribera del Duero, whereas in summer it can be very hot during the day, but pretty cool at night. You know, you can be down at 10, 12 degrees, yeah?
Exactly. Maybe we don't go so deep as in Ribera del Duero, but yes, we have in the nights normally 13, 15 Celsius, and during the day about 30 is normal.
Yeah. And what about soil types? I mean, you've got some things in common with Gredos as well, haven't you?
Yes, in fact, Sierra de Francia is a part of the central system, like Gredos. So we have basically granitic soils, but in some areas of our DO, we have slate. We have a slate that was settled in the Cambrian era. That's why we call the winery Cambrico, from the Cambrian era, where the soils were were formed, and we have fossils from that period. You can clearly see, especially in Sierra de Francia, you can see the crucianas, which are the rest of the trilobites that used to live around when this was a Sumeric ocean.
I'm coming to visit you this year because I'm giving a speech in Salamanca, and I love your wine, so I really want to see this region.
I will be very happy.
Yeah. Just tell me a little bit about vintage variation. Do the best vintages tend to be the warmer vintages? I mean, is that something you could observe?
For my taste, maybe it depends on the perception, but I like cooler. Right? When I was a kid, it was much cooler than now. Right now, the end of the summers are getting a little bit warmer, especially from the middle of August.
And that's climate change, really. It's happening all over Spain, isn't it, and elsewhere, obviously.
Yes. So, yes, I like cooler summers to be able to harvest a bit later with a slower ripening. And this is my preference when the end of the summer is cooler and we can harvest with a higher acidity. We don't like to make alcoholic wines, so when the summer is really hot, we get an estimation of 15% alcohol before the end of August, when the acidity is still good, but we would prefer to have a longer ripening. So there is a variation between years, and also when we don't have storms in the summer, the vines are suffering at the end of the process, at the end of the cycle.
And you said now you're about 200 hectares. Just tell us which grapes are grown in this Sierra de Francia, and are these grapes unique to the region?
In Sierra de Francia, there are more than 200 hectares are the ones inscribed in the DO. I think in the region there may be about maybe 1,000 hectares in total, but for the DO just 200. Yes, there are different grapes. When I started the project, there were many grapes. The thing is that I focus only on the indigenous ones. So we focus on the Rufete, Blanca, on the Calabres, and on the local clone of Tempranillo called Aragonés. If you see, Aragonés is the way they call the grape Tempranillo in Portugal.
Yeah, with the Z. Z, not an S, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we have varietal diversity similar to Portugal, because our region was settled by Burgundians in the 11th century, and also in Portugal happened at the same time. I mean, at that time there was no border between Portugal and Spain, so it was geographically the same region. So yes, in our region we have these 4 varieties plus many other varieties that people brought, Cariñena and Tinto Madrid. They brought Tempranillos with more production. Some people brought other white varieties, especially after Phylloxera. But before Phylloxera, the main varieties were these ones that we are working with. So mainly Rufete, Calabres. These were the main 2 red varieties, and Rufete Blanco. That even from that time was called Verdejo. But it's not Verdejo. It's genetically totally different, and pelographically it's totally different. The flavor, the skin, everything is totally different from Verdejo. But the people call it Verdejo even from the old times. So,
and tell us a little bit more about Rufete, because it's a fantastic grape, and also about Rufete Blanca. Is one a mutation of the other, or are they different grape varieties?
They're different grape varieties. We use the same name after discussing a lot with Itacil, with the administration in Castilla y León. We had discussions about the name because this, especially Rufete Blanco, was a variety that was not registered some years ago. Was there for centuries, but not registered. And they are not the same variety with a mutation. They have some similarities, but they also have big differences. So the main one is that the red Rufete, what we call just Rufete, has a very thin skin, and this makes the grapes to have left to give to the wine less color. So has less flavonoids and less anthocyans than for example, Tempranillo. It's very aromatic and has a very high and good acidity. The Rufete Blanco has a very thick skin, so this is the opposite, and brings a lot of tannicity to the wines. And also, it's not so juicy like the red Rufete. It's the yield is really low. When we press, depends on the years, right? If it rains a lot, we have more juice, but regular years we get about 55% only of juice from the grape. So the clusters in both cases are similar, very tight. The grapes are normally small, and the vine is quite similar too, but it's not the same variety with a mutation.
And in Calabres, is Calabres a clone of Garnacha, or is it a different grape?
I wish it was a different grape, but it's not. We saw the genetic analysis that gave us the information that is the same grape, but it's a very particular clone of Grenache.
Interesting. Tell us about the age of some of your vineyards, some of them over 100 years old. I just wonder if you think do old vineyards get the respect that they deserve in Spain?
I don't think so. Yeah, maybe this is something with a lot of value we have in Spain, and we don't give so much value as they have. Yeah. In Spain, people pay money for the brands more than for the terroirs, and they don't have probably the appreciation and the value that they really have, because they produce something so special. When the vine is more than 80 years old, the characteristics of the wine you can make from there is really outstanding.
And you've rescued all these grape varieties, or these plots. You've got like 130 plots, I think, that make up your 11 hectares, and these were mostly abandoned, right? So you're saving these wines from disappearing.
We did, yeah, we did. When we started the project, we were lucky. I wanted to start more with making vineyards in sequeros, but in sequeros everybody left the vineyards way long time ago, in the 50s probably. When I arrived there in the 90s, I could find in Villanueva del Conde that people were turning 80, 90, and they were just about to abandon the vineyards, and that's exactly when we came to take over and to recover. We could find some old vineyards already abandoned, but few of them we were able to recover, because once you leave them, in 2-3 years, the nature there takes over, and then they die. Because
it's so wet, right? I mean, you get so much rainfall.
It's wet, and also because all the vineyards there are grafted. All the vineyards there are grafted. The soil is sandy, but the people grafted everything there. So you don't see in the region Pie Franco. You don't see, I don't know in English, Pie Franco.
Yeah, vines on their own roots, we say. Yeah, and you farm organically, don't you? Is that difficult in a region with 1,000 millimeters of rain?
You know, I don't. It is difficult, but I don't think about any other way. So we're in a natural park, and I don't think I have the right to spray poison in my vineyards or in any place in the natural park. So this is the only way I find to make wine in this part, in our place. Yes, some years we are losing because of mildew high percentage of the production, but that's the way it is. On the other hand, I see a lot of advantages that the vineyard is totally equilibrated. The soil is alive. We don't need to use almost anything except a little bit of sulfur and caldo bordelés, and that's it. And we don't have any plague from insects because everything is compensated. We have lots of birds. We have a lot of lizards. We have a lot of animals living around. And the most important for this part is that we are bringing nature into the bottle.
So it's biodiversity, really. Yeah?
Yes, and you feel this biodiversity also in the glass. You feel the aromas of what you feel in the vineyard, you feel in your glass. And I think this is because of the kind of natural way we make the wine.
And you've got a number of these single vineyard wines in the villages of Villanueva del Conde, you've mentioned, where the winery is based, and Garcibue and Miranda del Castañar. What makes these different, these parcels? Is it soil type? Is it altitude? Is it aspect? Is it all three? Is it the grape varieties? Tell us.
I think it's just the soil, because the grapes we work with are the same. The altitude and the exposition are very similar. The way we work with the vineyards is the same. So the only factor that changes is the soil, and it makes a huge difference between the different vineyards because of the soil. Even with the same age of the vines, the characteristics of the wines are very different because of the soil composition. So in the slate, the soil is even more poor than on the granite, and the fermentation takes longer. It affects the flavor because of the longer time of fermentation. But when the grapes come to the vineyard, the flavor of the grapes is totally different. Coming from a slate or coming from granite. In the granite, we have more acidity, and in the slate, we have more structure.
Interesting. Tell us a bit about your winemaking style, because your wines, I think, are very elegant. Who inspired you as a winemaker?
I think I have several inspirations, and I've been changing during the years. So first, when I founded Cambrico, I was not the winemaker. We have a winemaker called Alberto. He had his own style of making wines, probably with more structure. So I took over and I started to make the wines by myself on 17. And I during these years, making Cambrico and visiting many wineries, I had more inspiration from probably producers in Burgundy. I was very lucky to be distributed in the US by Martine Saunier, and she was importing wines, basically from Burgundy. I met a lot of people there, and I had the occasion to try a lot. And I think the Rufete has a very good characteristics to make an elegant wine. So I focus more on making wine with more infusion, less extraction. Try not to age in new oaks, because the oak can take over the fruit. And okay, I'm in my way. I didn't get it, but I'm in my way.
I think they're pretty good myself. But I mean, the fact that you travel means that you're exposed to wines from other places, and you can go to other wine regions when you're traveling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. This is one of my favorite things to do, to go to different areas where the wine is produced, and to learn how people make wine there, and to talk to other winemakers. Yeah, that's really very impressive.
Which wines do you like to drink? You've mentioned Burgundy. Anything else that you I mean, if you can afford it, I hope you can. I'm not sure I can.
No, I cannot. But I mean, once a month, I can drink a bottle. That's it. But I like wines from many areas. From Spain, for example, I like a lot Galicia. I like Ribera Sacra. I like the Valdeorras. I like ones from Catalonia as well, like Monsan. I like some Ribera del Duero. I like, I'm not close to one region. I like to try wines from many places. I like Italian wines. Of course, I like Barolos and Barberas, and I like Gamay from Beaujolais, from Morgon. This is also something that is a style that may be similar to the wines we make in Sierra de France.
Yeah, and I think the wines you're mentioning are very they're not identical to your wines, but you can see the similarities. I think you mentioning, Barolo and some Gamay and Burgundy and some of the Galician wines, particularly the red wines from Ribera Sacra or maybe Rías Baixas, they're reflected in the wines that you make. Those are just the reds, and I think your white is fantastic too. Tell me a little bit about what you think, Sierra de Francia or Salamanca can bring to the Spanish wine scene. Are there more people following you? I know my friend Marcelo Retamal, the best winemaker and one of the best winemakers in Chile, is now making wine in the Sierra de Salamanca. So he's there. Are you seeing more people coming to the region thinking this has got potential?
I hope there were more Marcelos coming. I wish. But the thing is not so easy because it's not easy to find grapes. The production is very tiny. The parcels are very small, so it's very difficult to start a project with your own vineyards, which is very important to maintain consistency. But now we are 15 wineries. Which is very good. 15 very small wineries, all of us, but everybody looking for quality, focusing on the same target of making wines with finesse. And I think the DO has a good, bright future, but we will always be small. That's for sure, because here is really difficult to cultivate, and also starting a plantation takes a lot of time. So we've been working more than 20 years. I don't think I'm going to plant one more vine.
That's it.
That's it.
But you've gone from two cooperatives, right? When you started in 2002? I think your first wines were released in 2004. Two co-ops to now 15 producers. So that's good. It's getting better, right?
Yeah, it's getting better, sure. And also the taste of the wines is getting better and better every year. So, and we are expecting more people like Marcelo is coming to, and I think they will. Probably we had passed through a period that was not the best one because of the economical crisis and then the COVID. But I think that everything will come back to normal, and more people will show up in the region, hopefully.
Final question. Tell us how you get away from wine and presumably jamón, because jamón is a big bit of your life as well. You love jamón, but what do you do? What do you do to relax?
I never get away. When I relax, I always take jamón and wine with me. But I love to go kiting, kite surfing. I do cross-mountain skiing, mountain bike, everything that gives me some adrenaline, I love.
Ah, okay. So you're an adrenaline junkie, as we say in English.
Exactly.
And just tell us a little bit about Salamanca and this amazing city, university city. Where are the best places to go and eat? If people are going to Salamanca for a long weekend, where would you tell them to go and eat? Where they can find your wine, I have to say. They've got to find your wine there, right?
Sure. My wine is here in several places, fortunately. Okay, there are very good restaurants here. One is called La Parra. La Parra is now focusing on Iberico meat, and he's making a full menu dedicated to the Iberico, which is outstanding. It's really fantastic.
La Parra like a vine, yeah?
Yes, La Parra like a vine. They got a Michelin star, and it's really worthy. Very close to Salamanca, there is a place called Rivas in Vega de Tirados. It's 20 kilometers from Salamanca, and they make a traditional kitchen, but with a high quality. It's really fantastic, amazing. There are many other restaurants that I could recommend, and tapas bars that you can come and drink wine with jamón and with chorizo, with the typical pinchos from here. Champaina is a rice with blood. Also
sounds perfect, and you've already sold me, as we say in English, on La Parra, and I'm coming to Salamanca soon, so we're going together. I'm bringing a good bottle of Burgundy, you're going to bring the ham, and we're going to celebrate the success of this amazing project that you've set up in this Sierra de Francia, which is amazing. If you've not tried the wines, can people buy them in the UK or not? Anybody listening in the UK?
Yes. We Bergman is our distributor in the UK, and the wines are available in the UK. Yes.
And anybody wants to contact you, they should go onto your website. Very good website with lots about the history of the region, and they can contact you if they want to find if the wines are available in their market. Listen, Fernando, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thank you so much for your knowledge and enthusiasm. Your knowledge not just of wine, but also of jamón, and just what you've done for this incredible region, which really is up and coming. I'll see you very soon in Salamanca.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I love projects like Fernando's, and if you haven't tasted his wines, ideally with a plate of the best jamón, what are you waiting for? Next week on Cork Talk, my guest is the journalist, commentator, wine lover, legendary rugby player Brian Moore. Controversy guaranteed. Join me then.
Thanks for listening to Cork Talk. If you want to read more reports, articles and tasting notes by me, go to my website, timatkin.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @timatkin and on Instagram @timatkinmw. See you next week.